Hi, everyone. We're here for episode 6 of the Our Road to Emmaus devotional. In the last episode, we talked about how Jesus walks by our side, allowing us to process our emotions when we go through a troubling time. In his perfect love for us, he walks beside us and allows us to go through all of the different emotions that grief brings. Today, I'd like us to look at the next step on this journey to healing. In Luke 24:17, it says, He asked them, What are you discussing together as you walk along? They stood still, their faces downcast. These men on the road to Emmaus were still in the middle of processing their grief. And remember, Jesus is God. Jesus knew exactly what they were discussing as they walked along the road. So why did he ask them? Why didn't he just come in and save the day? Why didn't he walk into their journey and give them advice or talk them through all of their emotions? I believe it's because Jesus, in his perfect love, wants us to pour out our hearts to him. So rather than coming in and giving all of these wonderful scriptures or pieces of advice or the perfect wisdom that only he has, he asks a simple question: What's troubling you? It's interesting to me that Jesus knows us so well that he does this for us. And as a matter of fact, there are two other instances in scripture where we see this happening. First is right after his friend Lazarus died. He was on his way to the tomb, and as a matter of fact, he had known before Lazarus died that he was sick, and he knew Lazarus was going to die, but he didn't go. And there was a reason for that. But while he was on his way to the tomb, the two sisters, Mary and Martha, approached him. And at different times, they both came to him and they said, If you would have been here, our brother would not have died. So Jesus, on his way to Lazarus's tomb, where he was going to perform the wonderful miracle of raising him from the dead, and he knew that, didn't stop and tell the sisters, Everything's okay. I am going to raise your brother from the dead. Don't worry about it. He simply allowed them to come to him and, in anguish, pour their grief out at his feet, saying, Why weren't you here? You knew our brother was going to die, and if you would have been here, he would still be alive. And Jesus just allowed them to pour out that grief. He knew that they needed that. Another instance is where we see this man in John chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. This man sat for years near the pool of Siloam in a crippled state. He was depressed, he was frustrated, he wanted to be healed, and he just didn't seem to be able to get into the pool when it was stirred. I don't understand everything around how this pool worked, but according to scripture, we are told when the water was stirred up, the people would go into the pool and they would be healed. But this man seemed to never be able to make it. So Jesus, again knowing full well what this man's problem was, entered into the scene, and he walked up to the man and he simply said, Do you want to get well? Isn't that interesting that Jesus, of course, knew this man wanted to get well? It had been years this man had been trying and trying to get into the pool and get well. But Jesus asked him the simple question, Do you want to get well? And of course, the man answered, as any of us would, Yes, but I can't. And he gave all of the reasons why he couldn't get well and why he was so frustrated. And in the end, Jesus healed him. But it wasn't before he allowed him to sit at his feet and pour out his grief. So why doesn't Jesus always just swoop in and take our troubles away? It's because he knows that when we run to him, when we rely on him, our faith in him gets stronger. If he just came in and took away every hardship all of the time, we wouldn't have to worry about having faith in his timing. And remember, sometimes we go through these periods of grief and frustration because his timing is not our timing and his timing is perfect. Had we received our healing or our miracle too soon, we would not have seen him at work. We would not see the grace of God. So trust Jesus' timing. When he enters into your picture, remember sometimes, like these men, you won't recognize him. And you need to remember that at this point on their journey, they still did not know that this was Jesus. They were kept from recognizing him. But even when we don't know he's there, we still can pour out our hearts. We can pour out our grief, and he is there to listen. And he will gently say, "What's troubling you? What is on your mind? Tell me." So go to him. Tell him what's on your mind. Pour out your grief to Jesus and let him come in. I hope you stick with us on this journey down the road to Emmaus. In the next episodes, we are going to see very soon that Jesus did reveal himself to these men, and he will reveal himself to us. So thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed these episodes, subscribe to my channel and pick up your copy of Our Road to Emmaus, Walking with Jesus Through Difficult Times. Thanks for listening.